Hello and welcome to Tradie Business School with your host, Miranda Hill, where you get real conversations, practical tips, and an abundance of insights that will help you to run your trade or contracting business more easily, simply, and more enjoyably. You ready? Let's dive in now. Today's episode, we'll be talking about how to get people to do what you want them to do. I'm wondering, have you ever had the experience where you've asked someone to do something and you've not got the result you wanted? They just don't do it, or they don't seem to get it. It's frustrating, right? I know I've personally experienced it. I've spoken to clients that have experienced it. It's almost kind of like you're banging your head on a wall. So, wherever you're tuning in from today, your car, your truck, your ute, from the site, from your home office, wherever you are, I'll bet this is going to resonate in some level with you. How to get people to do what you want them to do. So there's frustration when you believe that you've explained something in a way that's clear and the result you get is substandard, subpar, not what you want, another version entirely. It's like, how did I get that? That is not what I asked for. It's like when you go to a coffee shop and you order a latte and they bring you back, green tea, and you're like, what just happened then? The same sort of thing can happen in our business. It may be that we asked for a particular report to be written and something else, the wrong information gets included. It may be that measurements are wrong, a process isn't followed, a client communication hasn't gone out, an email hasn't gone out, even the wording within something, you're like, how is that happening? So we're going to unpack today. There's three things that I always focus on when I get asked this question, the three reasons why people don't do what you want them to do. So let's just think for a moment through the first one. You ready? Why? The first reason is why. People don't know why you want them to do something. So it's one of the main reasons that you don't get the result that you want, is that the person that you have asked to do something or is required to do something as part of the process. So this can even happen when you are not directly involved in the conversation. It may be that something further down the line, like part of a process, a communication process, client, a way of doing a particular job or measuring something isn't done properly. Often one of the reasons that somebody doesn't do what you want them to do is because they don't know why it matters. They don't know why they should be doing it in the first place. Possibly what may come up for them is it doesn't make sense to them. It's just not important. It doesn't matter. I don't see why would I spend any more time doing it. It seems like there's extra steps to be done here. I can do it more quickly. I can get to the finish line more faster, whatever that might look like. So that's the first reason why. What can we do about that? We can help explain to them why it matters, a bigger picture. Now, we don't need to go into an entire, big picture plan or any kind of strategy or huge amounts of detail, but they must understand why it matters for them to follow the process, to do the thing that you want them to do. For example, maybe there is an implication or a result that will happen if it doesn't follow through. So if, say, an email doesn't get sent, or say a measurement isn't done and communicated to the next person down the line in a certain way, what that's going to mean is that it arrives and it's not the right size. Or the client won't know, in the case of the email, the client won't know that somebody might be arriving to do the job. People can sometimes think very much like they're in a bubble, like with those blinkers on, that you see horses on in horse races. They've got blinkers on and they're very task focused in doing what they need to do. And if they get that done, they believe they're doing a good job. Some people just don't see the bigger picture. They don't see what's happening to the left and to the right of them, or to the front and just behind them. They don't see where they fit into that bigger picture. Or maybe they do see once and then it just falls out of their mind because it's not the way they naturally think. So it's very, very important to always be reminding people and touching on why it matters. Especially if it's something new, I always start with why it matters. Even for the point of this conversation, why are we having this conversation? This conversation can have a massive impact on your business. It's time saving, the return on investment when you've got an employee out on a job, efficiencies, the impact is huge. If people do what you need them to do and want them to do, there are so many savings mistakes to be made, so much less stress, so many happier clients. You might increase referrals. There are so many ways that this can impact your business. So the second reason that people don't do what you want them to do is they don't know what. They don't know what you want them to do. It may be that there's not a set of instructions. It may be that it's unclear. It's maybe no one's explained it to them. It's not documented. It's not in a system. It's not in a manual. Maybe somebody didn't give them a critical piece of information as to what it is that you're asking them to do. So maybe they've had to make it up a little bit, or take an educated guess, or just give something a go and hope. Often that's what it is. They don't know what exactly it is you want them to do. And often it's not through a lack of wanting to do the right job or do the right thing. They just don't know what, so they kind of make something up along the way. I'm wondering if any of you are nodding out there. It's kind of like, yeah, I've kind of done that before myself. I didn't know what, so I kind of had to make it up. So have a look at how you're communicating. Have a look at your processes, what's documented. Is the thing that's not happening documented? Is it explained clearly? And often, here's the thing, often the way that we can explain something, because we've got information in our heads as business owners, doesn't, or maybe we're an expert, or we've got a technical competence at the thing that we're explaining. Often that doesn't translate fully to the person who may be new to doing it. So it's very important. One of the tips I always use is to ask someone to reflect back to me what it is that I've just shared, just to make sure that I've done a good job at explaining it. It's not to insult their understanding. It's, could you just reflect back to me, just share with me what I've asked you to do, just to make sure that I've included all the steps in what I asked you to do. You can hear how that's a little bit softer. So that's the second one, the what. The third is how. They don't know how to do it. They just don't know how. They don't know, maybe they don't have the skill or the competency, or they don't have the equipment. Maybe don't have the time. Maybe the how is like, how am I supposed to do that when I've got all these other things to do? So just think about that. So maybe they don't know how to do it. And so, maybe they get kind of why it matters and what they need to do. And they're like, well, how do I do it? I'm missing some things, or I'm missing a key piece of information, or maybe they think I know how to use that piece of machinery and I don't have a clue. So I'm sure there's many other examples that as I'm sharing this, you can think about, what the how could be. So there we have it. We've got the 3 reasons that people don't do what you want them to do. They don't know why you want them to do it. They don't know what they need to do, and they don't know how. So the next thing is to know, how can I use this information, these 3 things in my business? I've seen it done so many different ways, but I'd encourage you to step out. Next time you go back into a conversation with anybody, to get very, very curious. Think through the lens of these 3 things: why, what, and how. And when you have that conversation with somebody, ask them. You can even ask them quite literally, do you know why it matters that I've asked you to do this? Do you know what it is exactly? And do you know how? Or do you have everything you need to do it? So ask those questions, get very, very curious, and I'll bet you'll come up with an abundance of answers that perhaps, or information that perhaps you're not yet aware of, or that maybe wouldn't have been shared with you if you hadn't asked the questions in those ways. So I've seen these 3 questions have quite profound results for people's businesses. They've used them in team meetings. They've used it on feedback. They've used it in many, many different ways. So think outside the box. Think about how you can use the why, the what, and the how to get people to do what you want them to do. That's all for today. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.